Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational magazine for women since 2006. I'm also the founder of InspiredLivingUniversity.com, where you'll find a sacred curriculum and community for women. Be sure to visit InspiredLivingUniversity.com to get on the wait list for when we open the doors to students again. So, my friends, I don't know about you, but it wasn't until I found, owned, and shared my voice that my life began to transform. And today, we're going to be talking about just that and so much more with special guest Kathleen Gubitosi. Not only will she be sharing her story of losing and finding her voice again, discovering the beauty and power of the divine feminine, and you know I love juicy stories, and how running from her destiny led to living her calling, which has become her greatest blessing. So for over 2 decades, Kathleen has supported women who desire to align with their inner truth, step into their intuitive feminine power, and live the life of their dreams by connecting to the most potent gift on earth, their voices. An international best-selling author, award-winning businesswoman, performance coach, Reiki Master, professional tarot consultant, and the creator of the Magic of Voice Alchemy program. Kathleen is also an expert instructor for Inspired Living University, as well as a sought-after speaker, appearing on both live and virtual stages, sharing her message of feminine empowerment through voice in the metaphysical arts. Welcome, Kathleen. I am so excited that you're here with me today.
Oh, thank you, Linda. I'm thrilled to be here talking with you today.
Well, it's such an important topic. You and I have a lot of similarities in our passion and desire to not only support women in finding their voice, but also giving them a place to use their voice, right? Yeah. So let's talk about, because I love it when the show we talk about someone's personal journey, and then we're going to talk about the work you're doing now, but what is your background with the voice, right? Because you've mixed two worlds, my friend, and I love that combination.
Yes, my background with voice is that I have been a singer and musician all of my life. I am a classically trained singer, musician, and I also have a love of the metaphysical arts. I have been a tarot reader and teacher for many years, and I love astrology and mythology, and I've tried to find a way to combine all of those things into my work so that I can bring my full voice forward in the service of other women. And I call that the Magic of Voice Alchemy.
And it's so beautiful. Now, on your journey, on a spiritual, personal level, did you have to go through your own journey of freeing your voice?
Oh, yes, I did. As a young person, I was very, very shy, and I was always being pushed forward by my teachers, and I always wanted to hide in the back row, and I would inevitably get a teacher that would say, "No, honey, stand over here in front of the microphone."
And you were like, "No, thank you."
Yeah, I was like, "No, thank you." And then the next year in new school, I'd hide in the back row. And again, the teacher would say, "No, honey, stand over here near the microphone." Okay, all right. And so I did that. I took that up, and I became a music teacher and a professional vocalist. And along the way, I also sustained an injury. It wasn't a voice injury, but it was a physical accident that I had that really prevented me from returning to that career. And for a long time, I didn't even listen to music, let alone hum with myself or sing in the shower. I silenced my voice out of bitterness and frustration of the situation that I was in. And it took me many years. I had an epiphany moment when a very good friend of mine asked me to sing, and she had never heard me sing anything. She just heard me kind of talk about it, briefly. And I said, I was conflicted. I didn't know what to do. And my small inner voice said, go for it, try it. You're in pain now. You're not feeling well, but you're in more pain not doing this. And so I took a chance, and that's what set me back on the road to reclaiming my voice, both for music, for speaking, and for teaching, which is the destiny that I was always running from. I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a guide for other people. And no matter what situation I was in, I was always put in the role of the leader or guide for others. And I would, again, just like I did stepping away from the microphone, I would back away from being in that role. So I eventually, over a period of a number of years, managed to acclimate myself in my own emotional grounding process to say that it's okay, I can step in and I am a leader. I can be the leader, and I can show the way and illuminate for other women on the path who are going through a similar struggle that I have lived through.
Oh, it just resonates so much because our voice, as we talked about it in my opening, is the most potent gift on earth, right? Mm-hmm. And when we own it fully, people think it's just speaking your truth and all that, but it mm-hmm. reverberates across every part of your life. Because if you're not owning your voice, as you discovered, you're playing small. It could be in a relationship, business, like whatever. Mm-hmm. So to hear you go through the inner work, and when you use a powerful word, reclaimed, right? And and in your work mm-hmm. with women that are drawn to you and your beautiful, the work that you do you notice a lot of them are saying, yes, I've lost it. I don't know how I lost it. Mm-hmm. I don't know where I lost it, but I am mm-hmm. freaking ready to reclaim it.
Right. And I am frequently the last stop for many women. They will go to a psychologist, a different type of a life coach. They may even go to a metaphysical or a yoga studio, hoping to reclaim what's missing. And eventually they'll find their way to me, and I'm not flashy. I'm very low-key. You'll see me in a T-shirt and jeans most of the time.
My favorite clothes.
Yeah, and they just they come in and they're anxious, they're nervous, and the first thing I said to them is, you're aware. You have the awareness. You know it's missing. So you know you had it at one time. Otherwise, you wouldn't miss it.
Exactly. And it's such a great awareness for them to have, too, because as you mm-hmm. and I know, that's where healing and transformation can begin once there mm-hmm. is awareness. You can't heal what you're not aware or acknowledging.
Yes. Yeah. And once they hear that, they can relax and they say, oh, I had this before? Well, of course you had it before. Otherwise, you would never be missing it. So you're not searching for it. It's not outside yourself. You already have it. You just need to learn to reactivate it.
Yeah, and what I love about the work you do, Kathleen, it's a combination of two powerful sacred gifts that you have. So yes, as a singer, you have all the classical voice training, right, that any speaker mm-hmm. or singer would want. But you also have the spiritual, metaphysical and transformational background, where you say, let's look at the emotional, spiritual reasons why you're not owning your voice. So like you serve two distinct and beautiful audiences, but I can also see a merging of the two.
Mm-hmm.
So you must work with like the classical singers who like, hey, or performers or speakers who are like, I need to be able to vocalize better, etc.
Yes.
But then you have the women, like you said, the ones that are in both our communities who are struggling just to connect with their voice. So what a powerful combination.
Thank you. And it is one of the misconceptions about my work is as soon as people hear voice coach, they automatically think that it's only musical. It's only for musical theater people or people who want to be singers or rock musicians who are learning to repair and sing properly. A lot of people don't think of, well, it's the emotional connection. It's your personal connection to your inner authenticity and how you bring that to the world.
I'm so glad that you're joining me today to clear up those misconceptions because, like you said, they just hear that word voice coach and they just have a box that it goes in. And I've known you for a while now, and it's way more than that. It is so much deeper than that. So thank you. I'm glad we talked about clearing that up. Thank you. Kathleen, when did you first realize that voice, right, could be a vehicle for healing and personal transformation?
That came actually out of my own energy healing and my Reiki journey. During the time when I was injured, I went to see a rather famous psychic here in my neighborhood, and she suggested that I attend a Reiki circle at a local hospital. And I was skeptical. I'd never heard of Reiki. Of course, I knew about energy transference in a vague way at that time. And I said, okay, I'll go. I'll give it a shot. And I went, and I just loved it. And then I, of course, went down the rabbit hole of energy healing. And through my own journey with Reiki, part of what you're doing is you're doing self-Reiki every day. So you're clearing your own energy field and strengthening it. And I would find as I was doing my self-Reiki, all of a sudden I would just be making noise. I might call it just sounding because it wasn't singing. Sometimes it would be a hum. Sometimes it might be some kind of a high keening sound. Other times it was just notes that would come out and just spontaneous soundings while I was doing my daily Reiki practice. And I said, you know what? It's my voice. My voice is moving the energy through my body and clearing my auric field. So it's an assist to the other energy modality of the Reiki. And from there, I did a little more research into sound healing, which was something I had never been into, and combining that with my own personal experience of stepping away from the microphone, being in front of the microphone, stepping away from the microphone, going back and being in front of the microphone with this natural sounding that was happening. And then bringing that into my work with people who have anxiety and stage fright issues.
I love the power. For one, I love Reiki. I believe in sound healing. I've felt the experience. So as you were speaking, I'm like, I can feel what you meant when the energy moving through you by you toning, right? And I also believe that our own journey gives us the I don't know, the empathy, the compassion to be able to serve those who struggle with the same thing. That's been it in my case, right? Yes. I love that you tap into people with stage fright and anxiety because, again, it all goes back to the voice, right? So we're going to talk about that and so much more. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back with Kathleen Gubitosi in just one moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Kathleen Gubitosi, and we're talking about freeing your voice so you can transform your life. So, Kathleen, right before the break, you were talking about, the energy work and how it came to be that you realized the voice could be a vehicle for healing and personal transformation. As you discovered that and started integrated in your work, your clients must have noticed a difference too, because that's a powerful combination.
Yes, they did, and as I did myself, they even noticed it in me. And they said, something's different about you. And I said, well, I've been doing this. I've been doing much more sounding, combining it with the energy healing, and I really believe that the voice is the way to go, because to me, nothing that you have outside your body is as powerful as something that's inside, because our body is our divine vehicle for life. So if I'm making the sound inside my body, I'm actually clearing things out from the inside out. It's kind of like moisturizer. Your skin is dry, so you put on moisturizer, and the next day you put on more moisturizer. And what you really need is a good drink of water to go inside your body.
Yeah, it's like putting a Band-Aid, right?
Yeah.
But you're not touching the wound, and we want healing to come from within, so it heals. Now,
yes.
When did the goddess work come in? Because you use a lot of goddess imagery, which I'm drawn to, and archetypes in your work.
Yes.
And so, first off, let's talk about, before we ask how it shows up in your work, let's talk about what led to that integration. Because, you write for Aspire Mag. You're here. You're also an expert instructor for Inspired Living University, and the topics that you write about really resonate. So was this part of your own spiritual unfolding too?
The goddess energy has always been a part of my life in some aspect. As a young child, I used to beg my mother every day to take me to the library because I wanted to read more about the ancient civilizations, and I wanted to read about the goddesses and all of the myths, because I subconsciously was looking for a positive feminine role model. And as a society, we have not brought those all out into the surface. They are there. They're not hidden, but for whatever reason, we don't talk about them. So my journey with the goddess started very, very young. And then I furthered my studies, and I completed several years of priestessing training, which had in-depth study of world religions and goddess energy and how to empower your life with goddess energy. And I started writing recently a Divine Voice Goddess blog where I have mini conversations with various goddesses, and we talk about the things that are going on in my life, the things that are going on in the world, and how their specific energy can give guidance from ancient times into our modern life.
Oh, that's powerful. You know, it's powerful that you even thought of doing that. And also it's a way of educating women about each goddess and how they can call that goddess energy into their life.
Yeah. So in my work with my private clients, we use the cycles of the moon. We use the new moon for setting goals, the full moon for releasing, the days of the week as they're based on goddess energy. We connect to the timings of nature. We use the wheel of the year and also our physical voice work. And I use astrology and tarot birth cards to help my clients tap into which goddess is most active in their life right now based on where the planets are in their natal chart.
Ooh, that's powerful. I didn't even know you do that. That's a beautiful sacred offering because it gives a deeper understanding into how we're individually wired, because I'm open to all of that. But that combination that you just shared, that's powerful.
Oh, so many of the women that I work with have really had revelations and said to me, oh, so that's why I do what I do. Yes, that's why you chose this career path. Or
so they notice how it ties into the goddess that you let them know is associated with their unique birth numbers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That has to be fun because then it gives them a deeper understanding into themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so,
and working with the different astrological archetypes of the zodiac.
So what I've been hearing through this whole conversation is you have so many spiritual and metaphysical tools that you've gathered over the years to transform your own life, reclaim your voice, and now, because you've reclaimed your voice, you've stepped into the leader energy that you avoided in your younger years to be the leader that says to women, it's time for you to reclaim your voice, right? And right now, it's so needed in the world. It's so needed. Your work is so important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's one of the reasons why I call it voice alchemy, because alchemy is the science of transformation. We're going to turn lead into gold, so we got to find your gold. And these are all the different modalities at our disposal. And some of the things that you've never thought of may be the key to unlocking that transformation.
Well, it's this combination. What I love is you're bringing them deeper into their own truth, right? You're not there to tell them what their truth is. It's like you're empowering them with the tools for them to rediscover it, because as you said at the beginning, they had it at one time. They just aren't connected to it at this time. And you're just helping them find their way back to their voice.
Exactly. And a lot of the women who come to me, they've been to other coaches who try to tell them where they need to go. And that never works.
No, it doesn't, because then that's not their truth, their path, and then it never resonates. And on top of it, they feel like a foreigner on that path, right? Because they energetically can tell it's not meant for them. And I think that can confuse us, any of us who are in that circumstance, even more, or set us back. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it can totally throw a woman off of her course. That, I should be doing this.
Oh, the moment I hear should, I run like hell, because I used to live my life that way, shoulds, have to, must, and it almost cost me my life from running my body and soul down, right? And now it's like, I've erased them from my vocabulary because I know how damaging they are to our spiritual and emotional psyche. Mm-hmm. So one of the things, too, is who do you notice? Do you notice the majority of your clients come from the speaker world and want help, or music world, or are they women on the path of self-discovery, like those in the Aspire audience? Who do you notice is drawn to doing this deep work?
Most of them are women who are on the path of personal spiritual development, or they are female entrepreneurs or people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. And they're unsure about, how do I talk to customers? How do I speak to people?
Yeah.
I'm planning a workshop. I don't know what to say. I just learned this new modality, and I'm thrilled about it. Now, I have something scheduled, and I'm supposed to have 5 people coming and talk to them about it, and I don't know what to say.
So I love this. So for anyone listening, especially if you're like Kathleen and I, you're a spiritual or holistic entrepreneur and a woman who wants to transform lives, take it from me, and you heard Kathleen's story, until you can own your voice, you can't succeed in your business, because that's the essence of who you are. So by working with Kathleen, as you can say, you just heard, it begins your journey of healing, because you need your voice. People think it doesn't affect things. But Kathleen, what I know from my own journey is that it wasn't until I reclaimed my voice, was able to speak my truth with love and compassion, but also be okay to be me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'll just speak from my truth, don't know if it was yours, but for the first 20, 30 years of my life, I was hiding behind masks, masks of who I assumed people needed me to be, whether that was in a relationship, work, as an entrepreneur. And one day I woke up and said, this is exhausting.
Yes.
And I didn't know till this moment, talking with you, that is the day I began my journey. That day I woke up saying, it's more exhausting to carry all these frickin' masks and figure out who I am. And I can see now that's the day I said, I'm reclaiming my truth, my voice, and I started peeling things back. Do you kind of notice that that's the work that your clients have to do too, kind of a peeling back of the stories of how they need to be?
Very much so.
I
think it's the conditioning of our society is to put yourself last as a woman, to do everything for everyone else, and to wear those masks and take on those roles. I'm the good daughter, I'm the good mom, I'm the woman who can run a business and raise a family at the same time. And, oh, gee, I dropped the ball over here, I must be a terrible person. And how do I speak up in my relationship, because I'm supposed to be the good partner?
Oh, these are so powerful. And the epiphany I had just during this conversation is, wow, that was when my life started to transform, is when I began the journey of reclaiming my voice. So when we come back from our next break, let's talk about that more, because it's so important. And I'll be back in a moment with international best-selling author, award-winning businesswoman, performance coach, and just divine, amazing goddess, Kathleen Gubitosi. We'll be back in a moment.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
It's time to free your voice and transform your life. When you learn to align your inner truth with your outer voice, you step into your intuitive feminine power and enhance your ability to create and live the life of your dreams. Kathleen Gubitosi, performing artist and professional voice strategist, and creatrix of the magic of voice alchemy, guides emerging and established performers, business leaders, and heart-centered entrepreneurs to set their sacred message free and deeply connect with their ideal audience at home, at work, and on stage by channeling the most potent gift on earth, their voices. Whether through Kathleen's personal, professional, or performance path offerings, you'll learn the physical, metaphysical, and spiritual methods to activate your voice power, and you'll learn the individual characteristics of your divine voice goddess. Learn more at KathleenGubitosi.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Kathleen Gubitosi, and we're talking about reclaiming your voice. And we've been diving deep into that topic because it does affect every area of your life. So a moment ago, right before the break, Kathleen, we were talking about women like suddenly waking up going, I don't know how to speak my truth. I've played this role in my relationships, or maybe from childhood, be the good girl, you know. Mm-hmm. So do you notice a lot of the inner work your clients have to do to remove these stories, and is that part of the work they can do with you?
That's a big part of the work that we do. It's not just in-session work, but there's quote-unquote homework, because some things you can only approach in solitude on your own. They may be too delicate to discuss with someone else right away. When you have that epiphany, it's, oh, I'm not ready to share this yet because this goes back to 15 years ago in my first marriage or such and such relationship, and, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Or it was a parental thing or a sibling rivalry type of a thing, or something that happened in elementary school.
So you give them the support and the guidance, and then invite them to do the work, to go deeper, and then you're there as the support and the resource to help guide them along that path to removing the layers.
Yes. So we do a lot of journaling activities. Think about this. Okay, what just came up for you? Okay, well, don't settle into it right now. Write what you can. Sometimes we speak. Sometimes we do voice exercises. Sometimes we just talk. Sometimes we'll map out a speech for someone to speak at a workshop or a curriculum development type of a thing. But mostly it's getting into what attracted you to doing this work and why is it important to you, and where did these messages, these roles, these masks come from?
It's so important because you can't heal and move forward until you know where the trigger was embedded.
Mm-hmm. And very reassuring to let them know, hey, you're here. You already know that you're doing this, that you have these masks and these roles, and there's something that's missing. You already know, because otherwise you wouldn't have been missing it, as we said before. So you're on the right road, and just a lot of reassurance. People need a lot of encouragement as they go forth. And
well, it's a vulnerable place to be, right, when you're diving deep, and you need someone that you know is a sacred container who can also provide the expert support. You have the resources. Let's talk about, a few minutes ago we mentioned the spiritual entrepreneurs. and the heart-centered female entrepreneurs who really I know are here to change the world with their message. And you and I have a lot of them in our community. One of the things I've noticed in the work that I do with women for sacred visibility, which is a little different than yours, right? You're working with them to free the voice, and I see the ways they're hiding from bringing their gifts. But do you see the overlap there? Mm-hmm. When you were just sharing about how it can, because it sabotages the business. When we don't own our light in any way, so in your case, the work you do with clients is to help them own their voice. I help women remove the blocks that stop them from shining bright, right? Because, as you know, entrepreneurs, it's like we can, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, it's who am I? So in your case, the work you do, I can see it affecting entrepreneurs by who am I to speak at a workshop. So then they cower instead of showing up in their leader energy, right? So that's how the voice impacts their business in that way.
Yes. Yes,
and then sales calls, working with clients, I can see so many ways that if they're not owning their voice, if they haven't reclaimed it, there is an underlying struggle in their business because the voice, as you said, is the most powerful tool, and we have to own it. I mean, I'm so excited here because I can see the thread, and you helping the entrepreneurs follow that thread too is like, you may think you don't need this inner work, but really, if you're an entrepreneur, you do need it.
Yes, you do need it because everything you do, as you mentioned earlier, Linda, the sacred container that these female entrepreneurs then create with their clients is affected by how they feel about themselves, the masks that they're holding on to, the masks that they're dropping, and how they communicate with their client. It ripples out and out and out. So if your container isn't a pure and clear channel, what you're communicating through your outer voice can't possibly be in alignment with your inner voice. And then we get into that whole imposter syndrome again, and it just goes around and around and around.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate, from my own journey, but also I've been doing this work for 13 years in this personal and spiritual development genre. So I've seen the struggles entrepreneurs have because they're my favorite women to serve because I believe that each of us are here with a sacred gift. And I believe that we are the ones who are here to energetically change the world with our gifts. But we can't do that if, going back to this whole conversation, we don't own our voice, reclaim our voice. And, of course, there's many other things we have to heal, too, but it all starts with the voice.
But it all starts with the voice. And what is your message as being your most powerful tool? Are you an activist and you have something you really care about and want to speak out on, but there is something stopping you? You need to get to the heart of why so that you can connect authentically with your message. And when you're speaking to an audience, whoever it is, if it's your client and you're a spiritual entrepreneur, or if it's a family situation, then that message is heard from the heart, and it has that much more power.
And I love what you said about connecting with the heart, because that's the important part, right?
Right.
It's not just reclaiming your voice and you know how that can go when you go into the denser energies. But
yes.
It's coming from this place of love and compassion for yourself and for others. And again, not just entrepreneurs. We talked about this earlier, how you show up and use your voice in your own personal relationships, intimate and friendships.
Yes.
Do you always smother your voice if someone says, hey, let's go to the movies, but you really want to go to lunch? Do you speak up? Right? It's little things like that you don't realize that the more you smother it. And I'll give an example, Kathleen, from my own life. I got diagnosed with thyroid many years ago, and was on the meds. And let me clarify before I go on with this story: I am not telling anyone else. to stop taking their thyroid meds. This is my own personal journey. I want to put that. About 9 years ago, I did all the inner work of finding myself. And about 9 years ago, I heard, after being a specialist for 15 years, I just heard an inner calling, stop taking the meds. And I did, and it's been 9 years. And if for anyone that knows, you don't get off thyroid meds. And let me again clarify, my daughter has Hashimoto's, is on thyroid meds. I would never, ever tell my daughter to get off thyroid meds. This was my personal journey. But from a metaphysical, I truly believe I healed something within myself. What's your thoughts on that? About physical manifestation of illness? And I am not saying, my daughter has said, Mom, maybe there's something to it, because she's soft-spoken and sometimes doesn't speak. She holds it in.
Right.
What's your thought?
I agree with you. I think that there are physical manifestations of illness that come from our emotional and our spiritual state. I believe that some of those can be cleared out by resolving whatever those outstanding issues are. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I would never tell anybody to stop taking their medication. I would simply say to explore your option and try
and do the inner work no matter what.
Yes. Do the inner work no matter what. And to have faith and belief.
It was just when we have faith and belief and do the inner work, I think the combination of everything can shift. But I experienced it as I found my voice, as I found my calling, as I honored my path and stopped worrying what other people expected of me, and or that my life and business decisions could disappoint someone else. My life completely transformed. My business transformed. But more than that, I finally was in my own body in all ways, including my voice. So that's why I wanted you on the show, Kathleen, because I see so many women struggling with owning their voice, of speaking up for themselves, but also because we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, I could see the struggle. I could see where they were not owning their worth. Does worth come up a lot in your work?
Oh, yes.
And I don't mean financial worth. I'm talking about their own sacred worth.
Right, the sacred self-worth. Yes. Sacred self-worth comes up quite a bit. And I believe that has to do with our social conditioning from being little girls in our society, and just saying, okay, put everybody else ahead of you. So that gives the unconscious thought that we're absorbing that we're not as important as everyone else. So our self-worth just kind of falls, and we see that especially with girls of junior high school age, how they say self-esteem is great until about 11 or 12, and then it starts to plummet.
I notice it even younger now, because I have nieces from 30 down, right, to 6. And I am noticing self-esteem and self-worth issues at 6 and 7 that in the older generations, the older ones, I didn't see till they were, like you just said, preteen, entering that, which is all that angst.
Right.
It's breaking my heart. But like you said, that's social conditioning in media and all of that. And so they got to start sending their girls to you. Catch it early.
That's right. Well, I actually do a lot of work with the local Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout leader for many, many years, and a consultant, which is a leader's leader and a member of the local Girl Scout Council. And it's so, so important to bring these role models, if we're talking about the goddess energy, and you don't have to leave whatever your current spiritual path is, to encourage your young ladies in your life to explore what are the legends and stories and who are the famous women of history. They are out there. All you have to do is look for them.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that part of your work, so I love that you work and have worked with young girls. It's so needed right now. It is so needed. And I love tying in the goddess with it, because the more tools they have at their resource, the less chance they have of losing their voice.
Yes.
So,
right. If we can stop, and it's preventative. If we can prevent that from happening or lessen the effects, then everyone is better off. Society, the world in general, because those little girls are going to go out just like we are now and change the world for the better.
So true. They're the nurturers of the next generation, right? I mean, we are the nurturers of the next generation. So it's our role to give them the resources and tools, because they're going to be the leaders of the next generation.
Yes.
You know, we still have a few moments left, so I want to talk about, you know, if someone was to come to you for a consultation, what would it look like? And let's talk about the ones that are spiritual, heart-centered entrepreneurs, right? The women who are here to change the world. What does it look like if someone's curious? And because if they still have that idea, which after our conversation today, I think they now know what voice coach means in the way that you use it. But give them an idea.
Well, depending on where someone is located, they can meet me in my office, my physical office, or we can have a discussion online. I use Zoom for online consultations, and the first meeting is really just that. It's a consultation. It's a discussion. It's very low-key, very relaxed. Where are you? What are your goals? What would you like to see happen in your life? Where do you feel you need the most support? And I take my cues from their answers, their body language, my own intuitive guidance and hits that I get that are channeled while I'm speaking with them, as well as the sound of their voice and how they present themselves. And then I give some short action steps for the first week. And all of these action steps move us toward the goals that the person has presented in the initial consultation.
I love it. So it's like you're bringing all the tools in. You're intuitive, because you are very intuitive, my friend. And you blend it all together, and it's almost like you're energetically reading them. So they may not even know what their, I don't want to say the word issue, block is, but you may be able to pick it up because they're so used to it, they might not know how to name it, but you might recognize it.
Right, and you can recognize it in how someone sits in front of you and how they speak, and how they hold their body, the sound of their voice, the words that they use. All of these are clues as to what the person needs to work on. And then I judge their openness as to how woo they are and how acceptable of woo they are. And most of the people that I see are spiritual entrepreneurs, so they're very woo. And oftentimes their problem is owning their woo.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one of the reasons, too, is earlier you said that, and I don't know if this is for all sessions, but that you do that beautiful combination of their birth chart and the goddess. Is that something that if someone wants, they can do that separate as its own entity, or is that part of your more in-depth work with people?
It is part of my 90-day program right now, and I have begun offering it as a separate service type, kind of a one-off thing. If someone just wants to get some insights and then go off on their own, I am open to that, and I can work with someone just on that level. Because some people can't put in the work or don't have the financial liquidity at this time to commit to a 90-day program.
But this gives them information.
Yes.
I would call it a reading almost. It gives them a piece of information to work with, and then if you give them homework, it's giving them a path to get started. And when they're ready, they can move into the 90-day program. But I love that you have a 90-day program to really support, because guess what? If you're an entrepreneur, you need it. because you have to say yes to yourself. And as we talked about this whole conversation, your voice is the key to success in your business. And, you know, I found it out many times over the last, since I became an entrepreneur in 1992. It wasn't until this conversation today, Kathleen, as I shared about the epiphany when you were speaking earlier, that I realized that it was everything shifted for me when I removed the masks. And for me, the mask meant hiding behind who I wasn't because I was afraid to be who I am, right? And it's exactly that with the voice. We are holding our truth in. Imagine the energy in the body it takes to hold your truth in or hide your truth. Like my hand immediately went to my throat. I remembered that energy, and I know the shift that can happen in your life and in your business. It's so funny that as I did that and talked about constriction, my hand went up to my throat almost as a protective mechanism. Like,
yes.
Yeah, isn't it so funny, though, that there are certain things you do, like the hand to the throat, or when you're talking, or when you're having a tough conversation. That's how important our voice is, that we have these built-in mechanisms to remind us.
And sometimes I use that. I'll tell people if you're trying to connect with your heart energy and you're about to have a very difficult conversation, just ground yourself and put your hands over your heart and think about what you want to say, and that will bring the right words to you.
That's so beautiful. I think that piece of wisdom is a beautiful way to close out our call. And I have to tell you, I have truly enjoyed our conversation. I know you cleared up a lot of misconceptions about, which I'm so happy to say, about what a voice coach is. And I love the depth of the work that you're doing with women, entrepreneurs, and not only because, as we said, it's the most powerful gift we've been given.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Kathleen, thank you. Thank you for being here. I want to invite everyone to visit KathleenGubitosi.com, learn more about the sacred work she's doing in the world, her programs, and read her blog. Have fun. Enjoy your time on her website. And again, thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Linda.
And I hope to see you every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the Inspired Conversations radio show. Along with catching it live on the OMTimes network, you can catch the replay across all podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts. Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.